Vincenzo's Go Crypto Investing this October the 20th, 2025, noontime cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, gold and silver bullion video, right? And you can see gold after the big down day has recovered all of its gains. It's up nearly 4%, threatening to break its all-time high from last Thursday. Silver bullion is also recovered about half of its loss from Thursday, and the spot and the future spot price is coming up. The mining stocks we mentioned Friday could have been a buying opportunity for some people that haven't bought the mining stocks. They haven't got back all their gains. Dolly Varden lost about 9% on Friday. It's gained 6% back, so it's only about 25 cents away. Maybe it was down 12%. It gained about half of it back already, right? But what you guys are here for is the cryptocurrency. And over the weekend, I was busy in storm mode on my Facebook weather page as we had a fall storm move through the great state of Michigan, bringing some much needed rainfall, right? But you can see the Bitcoin price did have a nice bounce last week uh, after it came almost all the way down. And that was 2 weeks ago now. It came all the way down to that $103,000. And then last week, if we zoom into the daily time frame, you can see, oh, it actually did. It did breach. Okay, so it did make a new low Friday. I believe that was because over the weekend, all the coins slightly rallied, right? The ones that were down the biggest had a little bit better of a percentage up. But you can see this was the original wick low. Then we pumped back up and then we gave it all back and did create another low last Thursday or Friday. Now we're bounced back up, but we're coming up into the overhead moving averages. Now, this is the critical thing now. And if this is a confirmed breakdown, because all signs are this could be a confirmed breakdown, because you not only had the big price action move from an all-time high, right, on that Friday 2 weeks ago, you went from the all-time high to the wick low in a matter of a few hours, 16% or $20,000 almost. So you had the big uptick, the big breakout in volume. It wasn't like this where you just kind of traded out and got supported. You had a ferocious from an all-time high 14% turnaround, $20,000 almost, and a big spike in volume. This could be the breakdown confirmation. And like we said, if it was when it was up here, holding it for the 2 days prior, the Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of prior to the big dump, we said if it came down to the 200-day on a confirmed breakdown, the moving averages, the 50 and the 100 wouldn't hold. The 200 would initially hold, but I felt like it would come back up to the moving averages, the 50 and the 100, and it would get rejected and it would end out down here on that 95,000 and change. And that's the critical pattern support. And I think that is honestly where you're going next. Could you trade up a little bit the next couple of days? Yes. But I think the next major move is you're going to retest this, excuse me, this critical, take a sip of water. Water. Hey, Gatorade, water sucks. No, water's good. Gatorade sucks. Those electrolytes are horseshit, right? You heard it here. Truth from Vincenzo's Go Crypto Investing. Drink purified water, not the electrolytes in Gatorade. Gatorade's sugar water, and chemicals you don't want. Robert Kennedy in the formaldehyde was right on that one, right? He was right on that. The food colorings and dyes are not good for you, and you should not eat them or drink them. But that's not what we're here to talk about. What we're here to talk about is if it comes down to this 95,000, that is a pattern support change. And that brings the next several months in the short to medium term. Are we going bearish, and are these targets in play? Or is this just another fake down to the downside? We've cleared out some liquidity, we've cleared out a lot of overhead leverage longs, and now we can kind of freely move to the upside. And the first move would be to get back above the 50. The second move would be to get back into this pattern, which it would create a new all-time high if it took a long time, a few weeks. But it needs to get back in that pattern, or you could be structurally changing the short-term trajectory of the market. And that's what we're going to continue to follow. You can see the Ethereum price is running up against major overhead resistance. It's peaking above now. And this one did not create a new low. It's peaking above the 100-day in the daily. You can see we're on a trajectory of a bearish cross if the pattern doesn't trade sideways and or get above this 4109, and that's where you're wicked up to. That's the upper resistance now. You have two areas now of major overhead resistance converging on each other, the overhead 50 and the horizontal megaphone neckline resistance. It's resistance because you're below it and you're just above the horizontal running 100-day moving average. If you want to get bullish, you got to get back on top of this, hold it, and then stay, and then start to move to the upside. And that's your bullish option. That's averting what the bearish scenario would be. The bearish scenario would be a bearish confirmation. You had the big dump, you reactionary bounce back, came up, but got rejected by the 50 and got forced back under the megaphone neckline support, which is at 4106. Now you're coming up to retest it. If you can't confirm and sustain above it, that's telegraphing a big dump down to the 3478, but a structural change of the market, maybe a quick bounce after that. And then eventually what it's showing is you're coming down here to the 3063 and change. So that's what we're watching out for. If you do not get back above this megaphone neckline resistance, and get back above that fastly falling overhead 50-day moving average, it's telegraphing you're having a confirmed change of the overall short term, not long term, but short term trajectory of the market. And you have to look at 3568, 3466, and potentially all the way down there, right? The 33,049 at the bottom part of the screen, support and resistance zone, right? Because I don't think if you come back to here, I don't think you're going to be able to hold it. I think it's going to slip it, because if that's where it ends up coming down to make that decision, look at what you already look like you got. It's a Bart Simpson top looking, right? Where you have a big spike, consolidated sideways trading for several days. So that's what we're looking at there with the Ethereum in the short term. In the XLM, I got to take an aspirin real quick. You can see we've come down to where we were talking about last week, right? You wicked through and you're sitting still and just above now today, but today's candle, you bounced off it. The weekly time frame moving average 50-day is there in red, which is just along the bottom of that green support and resistance box that's just above 31 cents. And what we talked about last week was you had to bounce and stay on top of this overhead 50. And you can see over the weekend, you had a wick down below it, but you quickly bought yourself back up into there. And we said, you got to hold that 50 in the weekly. If not, you're going to get very bearish, because you can see now something on Friday that we talked about uh, is a bearish cross, where you can see now the 100-day moving average, or the longer term moving average. Come on. Is on top of the shorter term 50, just got underneath it, and that's a bearish cross, and that's the first bearish cross in the daily time frame since you had the bullish cross in the daily time frame back here a long time ago, back in mid-July, right? So several months ago, about a quarter year ago, and that just confirmed a bearish cross, which could be signaling that there's a big structural change in the short-term trajectory of the market. And that's something that we were talking about here. When this happened, the title of the video was Flash Manipulated Crash or Something Bigger Brewing. And the something bigger brewing would be a short-term bear market, right? A big shakeout, a big flush out, a big beat down, right? And we've been talking about, since you wicked down and you were sitting just above this 50-day and the weekly, that you had to hold this, or if you slip it, you're going to end up down here at the 100-day in the weekly, right? And that's all the way down there at 25 cents. If you want to get bullish, you got to continue to do what you're doing now, which is stay above the 50-day in the weekly, get back above the 200-day in the daily right there that's sitting at, what is that, 34 cents, and then get above this green support and resistance box stacked and lined up, where the 50 and the 100-day moving average are, right? So there's a lot of bearish things in the short term with moving averages, price action, right? In the short term, that's going to want to force the price down, but you can still break that and force the price up. Same thing with the XRP. We were talking about that. You got to hold this 233, and this 233 is circled, not because it dumped, but we were talking about that all the way back through here. The whole time we were back there, we were talking about if you slipped and couldn't stay above this 308, you were coming down to the weekly time frame. 50-day moving average at $2.33, and you did, and you actually wicked all the way down and through that all the way to a dollar, right? You broke all major support levels in the daily, in the weekly, in the monthly because it flushed out and liquidated. And a critical thing that you guys got to understand is one thing that it did is it took out and showed you there's not a lot of liquidity in the crypto market. Anything that goes wrong, the price can go down 40, 50, 80, 95, 99% in the matter of a few hours. And that's why where there was more liquidity and more backing, like Bitcoin, it only went down about 8% during that flush, right? But something that's a large cap crypto, but Ethereum, lot less liquidity in there. It went down 22%, right? In the matter of a couple of hours. And all the altcoins wicked down 40 to 80%. That's just a little warning that when things go bad, there isn't any real liquidity in here. And like Apple, if you had a financial crisis, Apple might go down 30% over the course of a week. Right, but there's going to find buyers, and it's going to, have short-term stability along the way. It's not going to go down 80%. Now, there's a lot of liquidity in Apple. There's a lot of buyers in Apple. There's a lot too. There's fundamentals to that market. That's just a little. I think that was giving a little heads up to you crypto traders. I'm just got to do a time check. I got to get this moving along. Um, but I think that's something very important that you guys should I, I honestly be taking more serious and studying more uh the lack of liquidity in the crypto market, especially in all the altcoins, most of them not counting the name Bitcoin, even XRP. Everybody likes it, but it went down about 60% on that wick, right? So that's something that's very interesting and something that we're gonna have to pay attention to. Like the channel, subscribe. I'm gonna make a quick altcoin video and release that to my Jabroni Killer members, and it'll come out to the general public about 6 p.m. tonight. Peace and love. The Rex Eyebrow Jay.